The phone call came at exactly 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, 3 days before my sister Victoria's dream wedding. I was sitting in my modest downtown apartment, the one my family constantly mocked as that tiny shoebox, when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Hello, is this Emma Richardson? This is Patricia from Grandview Events. I'm your sister's wedding planner." I could hear the panic in Patricia's voice immediately. "Yes, this is Emma. Is everything okay?" "I'm afraid not. There's been a catastrophic issue with the vendors. The florist just discovered a water leak destroyed half the arrangements. The backup generator at the venue failed, and the original caterer had a kitchen fire yesterday. We've secured replacements, but..." Her voice cracked. "The additional costs are $50,000. Without this money by tomorrow morning, I'll have to cancel everything." My heart sank. Victoria had planned this wedding for 2 years. Every detail had been meticulously arranged, from the hand-imported Italian roses to the 12-course tasting menu. This was supposed to be her perfect day. "Have you told my family yet?" I asked. "I called your parents first. They said they'd already spent their limit and couldn't help. Your sister is having a complete breakdown. She's threatening to call off the entire wedding." I closed my eyes. My family had no idea about my real financial situation. To them, I was just Emma the failure. The daughter who dropped out of business school, worked odd jobs, and lived in a cramped apartment while driving a 10-year-old Honda Civic. They'd spent years telling me I was the family disappointment, especially compared to Victoria, the successful marketing executive with her corner office and BMW. "Patricia, I need you to patch me into a family call right now. Can you do that?" "Of course. Hold on." The line clicked and suddenly I heard my mother's voice, strained with stress. "Emma, why are you on this call? We're dealing with a family crisis here." "I know, Mom." Patricia filled me in. "Well, there's nothing you can do," my father's voice cut in sharply. "This requires real money, not whatever you make from your little jobs." I could hear Victoria sobbing in the background. "My wedding is ruined. Everything's ruined." "Actually," I said calmly, "I can help." The line went quiet for a moment before my mother let out a bitter laugh. "Emma, sweetie, this is $50,000. That's probably more than you make in 2 years." I said I can handle it. "Handle it how?" my father demanded. "You live in that tiny apartment and drive a car older than my golf clubs. Where exactly would you get that kind of money?" I took a deep breath. This wasn't how I'd planned to reveal the truth, but Victoria needed help. "Handled," I said simply. "What do you mean, handled?" Victoria's voice came through, raw from crying. "I mean the money will be wired to Patricia's account within the hour. The wedding is saved." Silence. Then my father's voice, confused and skeptical. "Emma, what are you talking about? How could you possibly have that money?" I smiled even though they couldn't see me. "Well, that's interesting story, Dad." "This isn't funny," my mother snapped. "We're facing a real crisis here and you're playing games." "I'm not playing games." "Patricia, are you still there?" "Yes, I'm here," came the wedding planner's bewildered voice. "Please give them your account information. The wire transfer will arrive within the hour, plus an additional $25,000 to upgrade everything Victoria wanted but couldn't afford. Consider it my wedding gift." The silence stretched so long I wondered if the call had dropped. Finally, Victoria whispered, "Emma, where would you get $75,000? "That's what I'd like to know," my father said, his voice taking on that stern tone he used when he thought I was lying. "Emma, if you've gotten mixed up in something illegal..." "It's not illegal, Dad. It's just business." "What business?" my mother demanded. "You work at a coffee shop and do freelance tutoring. Neither of those pays that kind of money." I decided it was time. "Actually, I haven't worked at the coffee shop in 3 years. And I've never done tutoring." "Then what do you do?" Victoria asked, her voice still shaky. "I run a company. Actually, several companies." The silence was deafening. "What kind of companies?" my father asked slowly. "Well, for starters, I own Richardson Digital Solutions. We develop custom software for Fortune 500 companies. Last year we had revenue of $47 million. I could practically hear them processing this information. That's impossible," my mother stammered. "We would have known." "Why would you have known? You've never asked about my work. Every time I tried to talk about my projects, Dad would interrupt and ask when I was going to get a real job, like Victoria. But your apartment, Victoria began, is owned by me along with the entire building. Actually, I own the whole block. The apartment you call tiny is just my home office. My actual residence is the penthouse on the top floor. The penthouse in your building has been under construction for 2 years, my mother said faintly. Because I've been customizing it. Smart home technology, rooftop garden, private elevator. It was finished last month. Patricia's voice cut in tentatively. Excuse me, but should I give you the account information? Actually, Patricia, let me ask you something. What's the name of the venue where Victoria's wedding is taking place? The Grandview Estate, of course. And who's the catering company? Elegant Affairs Catering. And the backup venue you mentioned if we needed to change locations? The Riverside Manor, but that would require rebooking everything. I took a breath. Patricia, I need to let you in on something. You don't need to worry about payment or rebooking anything. What do you mean? I own the Grandview Estate. I also own Elegant Affairs Catering. And Riverside Manor. And the florist company and the photography studio Victoria booked and the transportation service. The silence that followed was so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. Finally, Victoria's voice came through in a whisper. What? When I said I own several companies, I meant it. I started with software development, but I've been expanding into hospitality and events. The Grandview Estate was my first property acquisition 3 years ago. I bought it because I thought it was beautiful and had potential. Elegant Affairs was struggling financially, so I acquired them and helped them expand. The photography studio was a natural addition to the portfolio. This is insane, my father said, though his voice had lost its dismissive edge. Why wouldn't you tell us any of this? When would I have told you? During Sunday dinners when you spent the entire time talking about Victoria's promotions? During Victoria's birthday parties when you introduced me to people as our other daughter, the one still figuring things out? During Christmas when you gave Victoria expensive jewelry and gave me a self-help book about finding career direction. The truth hung in the air like a weight. But why keep living like? My mother started. Like what? Like someone who doesn't need to prove their worth through material possessions? I learned everything I know about business by watching people, Mom. I learned about customer service by working at that coffee shop. I learned about problem solving by doing tutoring. I learned about real estate by living in modest spaces and understanding what people actually need. The Honda, Victoria said suddenly. You still drive that old Honda. It's reliable and efficient. Plus, do you know how much I save on insurance? I can afford any car I want, but I don't need status symbols. Unlike some people. That last comment stung and I immediately regretted it. I'm sorry, I said quickly. That was uncalled for. No, Victoria said quietly. You're right. We've all been. God, Emma, we've been so awful to you. Patricia's voice interrupted. I'm sorry to interrupt this family moment, but I need to confirm, the wedding costs are actually covered? More than covered, I assured her. Victoria, remember that ice sculpture you wanted but thought was too expensive? Get it. Remember the string quartet for the ceremony? Book them. The premium bar package? Consider it done. This is your dream wedding and you're going to have every single thing you wanted. Emma, Victoria's voice broke. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. You're my sister. I love you. But we've been so terrible to you, my mother said, her voice thick with tears. All these years you thought I was a failure. I know. Why didn't you correct us? My father asked. Why let us believe you were struggling? I considered the question carefully. Honestly, at first I was just focused on building the business. Success came faster than I expected, and by then your assumptions were so entrenched that I didn't know how to change them without seeming like I was bragging. And then, I paused. Then what? Victoria prompted. Then I realized something important. Your love for me seemed conditional on me being the family failure. Victoria was the successful one and I was the cautionary tale. I was afraid that if you knew the truth, you'd find some other way to dismiss me. That's not true, my mother protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Remember my high school graduation? Victoria graduated summa cum laude from college the same week. Guess which achievement got mentioned in your holiday card that year? Silence. Or when I won that state science fair in 10th grade. Victoria had just gotten engaged, so the science fair got exactly 3 minutes of conversation at dinner before we spent 2 hours discussing wedding venues. Emma, my father's voice was smaller now. I had no idea we made you feel that way. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm explaining why I kept my success private. I needed to know I could be happy and successful without your validation. And I am. The coffee shop, Victoria said suddenly. You kept working there even after your company took off? For 6 months, yes. Some of my best business insights came from those early morning conversations with customers. Real people solving real problems. That's what good business serves. Patricia cleared her throat gently. I hate to interrupt, but I do need to start coordinating with the vendors. Emma, should I put everything under your account? Actually, Patricia, let me give you a direct number. Call my assistant Marcus. He handles all the event coordination for my properties. Tell him Emma said to give Victoria the full VIP treatment. That means upgrades to everything, additional security, and full concierge service for all the guests. VIP treatment? Victoria asked. Well, I wasn't planning to tell you this until after the wedding, but the Grandview Estates VIP package includes things like personal attendance for the bride and groom, premium transportation for all guests, professional photography throughout the weekend, and a complimentary honeymoon suite for 3 nights. Weekend? My mother asked. Oh right. I upgraded Victoria's wedding to a weekend event. Friday welcome party, Saturday ceremony and reception, Sunday brunch. All included. The silence returned, but this time it felt different. Stunned rather than hostile. Emma, Victoria finally said, this is too much. The money, the upgrades, everything. It's too much. No, it's not. It's what families do for each other. But we haven't. She started. You haven't had the chance to return the favor yet. But you will. That's how families work. We support each other through different seasons of life. Right now, I'm in a position to help. Someday you might be in a position to help me. How can we ever repay this? My father asked. By being proud of me. By asking about my work instead of assuming I don't have any. By introducing me as your successful daughter instead of apologizing for my existence. Emma, my mother's voice was barely a whisper. We're proud of you. We've always been proud of you. Then show it. Patricia's voice came back. Emma, I've reached Marcus and he's already contacting our premium vendors. He says to tell you that everything will be handled by tomorrow morning. Perfect. Victoria, Marcus will call you directly to discuss any last-minute preferences. Treat him like your personal concierge. Because that's exactly what he is. I don't even know what to ask for, Victoria admitted. Start with your dream list and go from there. The sky's literally the limit. After we ended the call with Patricia, my family stayed on the line. The awkwardness was palpable, but it was a different kind of awkwardness than before. The discomfort of people realizing they need to rebuild a relationship from scratch. Emma, my father said finally, I owe you an apology. We all do. Dad, you don't. Yes, I do. We've spent years making you feel less than, and that's unforgivable. You built something incredible, and instead of celebrating you, we dismissed you. I should have told you sooner, I admitted. I let pride get in the way of honesty. Why now? Victoria asked. Why reveal everything for my wedding? Because it's your wedding day and you deserve to have it be perfect. And because... I took a breath. Because I realized that keeping my success secret was just another way of letting fear control my relationships. I was so afraid of being rejected for who I really am that I never gave you the chance to love the real me. We do love the real you, my mother said firmly. And we're going to spend the rest of our lives proving it. 3 days later, I stood in the bridal suite at the Grandview Estate, watching Victoria get ready for her wedding. The upgrades had transformed an already beautiful venue into something magical. The ceremony space was filled with the Italian roses she'd dreamed of. The reception hall glittered with crystal chandeliers I'd had installed just for her day, and the grounds were manicured to perfection. Emma, Victoria said, turning from the mirror where her stylist was putting finishing touches on her makeup. I still can't believe this is real. It's real, I assured her, adjusting the train of her dress. And you look absolutely stunning. Not the wedding, though this is beyond anything I imagined. I mean you. My little sister, the secret business mogul. I laughed. I prefer entrepreneur with a flair for dramatic reveals. Mom and Dad have been asking everyone about your companies. Dad spent 2 hours last night reading about Richardson Digital Solutions online. Did you know he bookmarked your Forbes interview from last year? I didn't realize it had been published, I said, genuinely surprised. Emma, you were named one of the top 30 entrepreneurs under 30. How did we miss that? Because you never asked what I was working on and I stopped trying to share good news that got ignored. Victoria took my hands. That changes now. I want to know everything. Your companies, your plans, your dreams, all of it. And I want to be the sister who celebrates your successes instead of the one who dismisses them. I'd like that, I said softly. A knock on the door interrupted us. Come in, Victoria called. My parents entered, both dressed in their wedding attire. My mother was carrying a small wrapped box. We wanted to give you this before the ceremony, she said, holding out the box to me. You didn't need to get me anything, I protested. We didn't buy it, my father said. We've had it for years, waiting for the right moment. I opened the box to find a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant, our grandmother's jewelry, the piece Victoria and I had both admired as children. Grandma Rose always said this should go to the granddaughter who built something lasting, my mother explained. We thought that would be Victoria with her career. But Grandma Rose always talked about building businesses and creating jobs for people. We realize now that she would have wanted you to have it. I felt tears welling up. Are you sure? Victoria should have this. No, Victoria said firmly. Mom's right. Grandma Rose was an entrepreneur too before that was common for women. You're carrying on her legacy in ways the rest of us never understood. I put on the necklace and it felt like a homecoming. There's one more thing, my father said. I've been thinking about what you said on the phone about how we introduced you to people. I want you to know that's changing immediately. From now on, when people ask about my daughters, I'm going to tell them about Victoria, the marketing executive who's brilliant at understanding people, and Emma, the CEO who's revolutionizing how businesses think about technology. Dad, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I have 2 successful daughters and it's time I started acting like it. The ceremony was everything Victoria had dreamed of and more. As I stood beside her as maid of honor, I watched her face glow with pure happiness. The upgraded flowers, the additional musicians, the perfect lighting, every detail came together to create magic. But the real magic happened during the reception, when my father stood up to give his traditional father of the bride speech. When Victoria first told us she was getting married, he began, I started thinking about what I wanted to say about my daughters tonight. I realized I'd been telling only half the story. He looked directly at me. Victoria has always been our sunshine, bright, ambitious, and determined to make her mark on the world. He has. But I haven't given proper credit to Emma, who's been quietly building something extraordinary while we weren't paying attention. The room grew quiet. 3 days ago, I learned that my younger daughter owns the venue where we're celebrating tonight. She owns the catering company that prepared this incredible meal. She built a multi-million-dollar technology company that serves major corporations across the country. And when Victoria's wedding faced a crisis, Emma solved it without hesitation or expectation of recognition. I felt my cheeks burning, but my father continued. I'm sharing this not to embarrass Emma, but because I realized I've spent years being proud of the wrong things. I've been proud of obvious success while missing the quiet strength and brilliant mind that built something lasting. Emma, I'm sorry it took me so long to see what was right in front of me. You're remarkable and I'm proud to be your father. The room erupted in applause and I felt Victoria squeeze my hand. Later, as the reception was winding down, Victoria found me on the terrace overlooking the estate's gardens. Thank you, she said simply. For what? For saving my wedding. For keeping our family together. For being better than all of us deserved. Victoria, you're my sister. You don't need to thank me for loving you. She hugged me tightly. I love you too. And I'm sorry it took a crisis for us to remember how to be a family. As I looked out over the estate I'd bought 3 years ago, the property I'd fallen in love with and purchased on instinct, I realized that everything had come full circle. I'd bought this place because it represented the kind of beauty and celebration I wanted to create in the world. Tonight, watching my sister dance with her new husband while our parents looked on with pure joy, I understood that I hadn't just built a business empire. I'd built a way home. The next morning, as the family gathered for the farewell brunch, my mother pulled me aside. "I have one question," she said. "What's next for you? More companies? New ventures?" I smiled, thinking about the plans I'd been developing, the innovations I wanted to pursue, the impact I hoped to make. "Actually," I said, "I was thinking it might be time to let you all in on the adventure. If you're interested in learning about the family business." "Family business?" she asked. "Well, it's about to be. Richardson Enterprises has been a one-woman operation long enough. I think it's time to bring in some partners I can trust." "You mean?" "I mean, Victoria has incredible marketing skills, Dad understands people and relationships, and you have organizational abilities I've always admired. I could use help taking things to the next level." "Are you offering us jobs?" "I'm offering you partnership in something bigger than any of us could build alone. But only if you're ready to see me as an equal instead of the family disappointment." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Emma, you stopped being a disappointment the day you were born. We just forgot how to see clearly." "So," I said, extending my hand. "Partners." He shook it firmly. "Partners." As I drove home that evening, yes, still in my 10-year-old Honda, I reflected on how dramatically life could change in just a few days. I'd revealed my success, saved my sister's wedding, and rebuilt my family relationships. But most importantly, I'd learned that the best business strategy of all was simple. Love the people in your life boldly, support them generously, and never underestimate the power of showing up when it matters most. The empire I'd built was impressive, but the family I'd reclaimed was priceless.